It's like there's rock bottom, 50 feet of crap, then me.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is
Morning Subway!
for August 26, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there. She's slowly being replaced by SpaceX. It's Ashley Burns.
One mission
Everybody.
at a time. Here's what I'm doing. I'm
SpaceX took out the
practicing
trash here today.
weaponized incompetence. Is that too harsh?
I don't even call it that. I don't know what you call it. So we're going to get into talking about let's just jump right in. Let's talk about the Boeing Spaceliner or Starliner, excuse me. Since we were talking about that on Friday, and on Friday, we were speculating, Ashley. We
had a prediction.
Speculation that because NASA announced that they were going to announce their decision on the weekend on Saturday, I speculated. I think I said pretty clearly, it's definitely going to be SpaceX that's taking them home and not Boeing. And that is what happened. They announced that the astronauts, Sonny and Butch, God bless them, they will be now in space a total of 9 months.
For their 8-day mission.
Because they're not coming back until February of 2025.
Yeah, so they announced that what's going to happen is one of the speculated backup plans, which is that one of the SpaceX Dragon rockets is going to go up, I believe, half crewed, so there's extra room. And that's due to go up and then come back in February. And so they will be filling in those extra crew seats in February when it comes back.
You ever seen the SpaceX suits that they wear?
No.
Like you could probably picture the launch crew in a space shuttle and what they look like.
I can.
Yeah.
Do they look anything like that?
Look up SpaceX flight suits or SpaceX space suits. They look like the laser team suits, honestly. They really do.
They kind of do.
They do.
They do. They're very
clean.
Yeah, they're very like svelte. They hug the lines, hug the curves a little bit. Oh,
See?
look. Someone in the helmet's got a mustache.
Did you say svelte?
Svelte? They're giving her svelte.
I feel like astronauts shouldn't have facial hair, but I think they do. Like, who's that Canadian guy that everybody loves who's always going up?
Think about this, though.
He rocks a mustache.
Is it better to have facial hair? Because that way
Yes.
you don't have a bunch of beard trimmings floating around the ISS.
That's true. Yeah.
I was like, oh, did you just a bunch of beard hairs just like float through the room? And I was like, God damn it, Bob.
Or just with a bunch of razors up there, too. Constantly changing blades and stuff like that. I would imagine it's all electric razors up there.
Someone like nicks themselves and there's just blood floating out.
I'll tell you who they don't send. They don't send
Boeing?
No, they don't send. They don't send one of those Turkish barbers who cuts hair with fire. Have you ever seen that?
I have not, but that sounds incredible.
It's amazing. Yeah, there's some people literally
Sounds stinky, actually.
Yeah, there's an actual technique where they will cut your hair with fire. The Turkish barbers, what they do is they light what looks like a giant Q-tip, must be dipped in some kind of flammable liquid. And then they tap it on your nose and tap it on your ears to get rid of your cheeks.
Oh, okay. No,
to
that
get rid
actually
of-
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
So then it like
singe off the
singes
little
them
hairs.
right off.
The,
Sure.
the little hairs, the little ones. And so they just do this thing where they tap your ear. And it's one of those things that's like really cool until it goes wrong.
Well, Bernie, we talk about astronauts like living on the edge, right? What about the people that are putting burning Q-tips up their nose?
Yeah, what about those people? We don't think about them ever. They don't make the headlines.
Who's the real hero
They
here?
are the unsung heroes of our world. So now the question becomes, Ashley, in my mind, it's a very serious thing, but I mean, it is the stock market. It isn't the actual economy. So the thing now to make a bet on is what happens to Boeing stock when the market opens now on Monday.
Well, your speculation was that one of the reasons that they waited to make this announcement until Saturday was that they didn't want people to panic sell Boeing, right, with the market open.
Utter speculation.
And the thing is, I think the announcement did kind of come in Friday evening, or came ahead of the press conference.
The announcement or the pre-announcement?
It was sort of no, they had the pre-announcement earlier, and then they had a pre-announcement announcement. I think Friday evening, and then they had their announcement on Saturday.
Then the assistant to the announcement came in.
But who's the second assistant to the announcement?
And then Vanna White came out and started turning letters. And it said,
I think it kind of came out Friday evening, but it was still after the market had closed. So you're right that they did give them time for people to sort of sit with this news for a little bit before panic selling all the Boeing shares.
You have time to digest. And we
Yeah.
said, with the other speculation we said was something will come up in the 48 hours between when they make this announcement and the market opens on Monday. So far, whatever that thing is really hasn't happened. It's been a kind of an uneventful weekend.
A little bit. I mean, there has been one fairly major event that I can read to you if you like, and that is that there was a kid that went missing in New York, and his parents called the police because that's a very serious thing. And they found is a happy ending, Brendan. They found the kid. You know where he was?
That's a hilarious ending. Yeah. I read the story. Go ahead.
He was playing hooky on the roof of his building.
Didn't a helicopter spot him playing
A
hooky?
helicopter found him.
Oh
like
my
a news.
God.
So these parents, they couldn't find their kid, and they called the police and issued this missing persons report and described him. And it's this kid. He was dressed for school, wearing an orange tie, apparently. And so the police put out this missing persons alert. News sends a helicopter to the parents' building, and the people on the helicopter see this kid hanging out on the roof of the building. And they're like, wait, is that orange tie? And so they called the police, and they're like, we think we found the kid. We think he's, think he's there. The police, then they basically, a helicopter kept an eye on the kid until the police got there. And then the police just got the kid and then gave the helicopter a thumbs up. And everyone went home.
Everyone's probably fine. I mean, they're happy that the kid is safe and everything. And they always talk about like, well, it costs so much to mobilize and to find this kid. All those people were working that day anyway. You know what I mean? They had to be. So they just
all
got
turned up. I mean, they did have to like take the good old helicopter out for an exercise that might not have got otherwise. But, a little bit of overtime. And also, this is a story where everyone totally comes out a hero. Everyone gets to have a good day.
You know who else is a hero?
Except for that kid who's grounded as shit.
The kid is a hero. Come on, that's hilarious. He got a mobilization for playing hooky. That is a kid who is unlucky as hell. He even thought about it. He went up to a roof.
Yeah,
who's going to look at a roof?
He had this plan, right? So it's amazing.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Ashley.
Yeah, what?
By definition, that had to have happened on Friday as well. So it didn't happen during the 48-hour news cycle between the announcement.
Oh, so it really has been a slow weekend.
It's been a little bit of a slow weekend. Even the Democratic National Convention is over now, too. And it's like, there's people like kind of forcing headlines. We'll come back to the Boeing thing in a second because I do want to get your prediction as to what's going to happen with the stock. This is one that was by NBC News. This is about Mpox. They made this announcement. No plans to close schools in the event of Mpox outbreak, CDC says. Then you read the article and it's not what it says at all.
What does it say?
The CDC was saying, we don't anticipate this being bad enough in order for us to issue COVID-level school lockdowns because they were combating misinformation probably on social media. From all the posts, it sounds like TikTok, honestly, where kids were posting like, schools are already being shut down. I'm not going to miss senior year. So the CDC said, we don't anticipate this being it. But that for them now, NBC to report as a headline, they're not going to shut down schools if Mpox shows up. It does overall indicate that everyone's got exhaustion after COVID, especially the kids online who don't want to go through lockdown. But that's not what the CDC, I don't think what they were saying. They're saying like, look, we don't think it's going to be that bad. Not like, fuck it, get your Mpox, go crazy. You guys were so mean to us last time. We're not even going to play this time.
The CDC PR is like, come on, guys. But at least they're like, you know what, though? At least we're not the Boeing PR team.
Well, if it's the CDC that was around during COVID, they're probably doing right now what they were at the beginning of COVID, which is like, you think maybe we should buy some masks or some PPE? You think we'll need that for disease control, PPE? Because we didn't do it last time, so why would we need it this time?
Yeah.
That was shocking to me.
You do, and it is something that you can only take with sort of a grain of salt, because you're right, we don't anticipate this being so bad. But I don't know that people anticipated COVID being bad until it was bad.
Well, there were people actively telling us it wasn't going to be bad.
Yes.
There were people actively telling us it wasn't going to be bad while it was bad, too.
Yes. So, it's one of those things where we'll just have to keep an eye on it. But it is something that I feel like could potentially be bad if they aren't able to isolate the cases that have started traveling.
I would say, though, regardless of how you feel about how we reacted to COVID, whether it was too severe or not severe enough or whatever, I think everyone can probably agree on the fact that the overall atmosphere post-COVID is not setting us up for success if something else dire happens. Like we will underreact, I think, to the next thing that happens.
Just from exhaustion?
As a group of people, yeah. Because I think there's the exhaustion of just like dealing with it for so long and it not being clear how you should feel about it. I think everyone kind of feels the same way that like, yeah, we're gonna, the next one that's gonna be a really serious threat, we're not gonna react strongly enough to it.
Yeah, not in time, really, to like, what do they call it? What was it? Flatten the curve?
Flatten the curve. All right, let's go back to Boeing for a second. So on Friday, Ashley, their stock was actually up. Even with the speculation. So their stock was up at the end of Friday. It was up about 1.5%. Right now they're sitting at close of market on Friday. Let's just call it 175. They're at $174.96 a share. So without looking at the futures right now, I don't know. What does this mean for a stock? Like inclination is what?
I say go down.
You say it's going to go down.
I say stock go down.
I mean, the Boeing, there's articles right now with like anonymous informants going to the press who work at Boeing saying, we're absolutely humiliated by this. Because it's not just like they're not going to use the Starliner. They're not going to use the Starliner, and they're going to use their biggest rival. That's a big deal when the government makes an announcement like that.
Yes. So because Boeing and SpaceX are sort of, they're treating it, or NASA is treating it as they want competing private industry that they can work with, right? So they're not all locked in with SpaceX. So Boeing was supposed to be the other guy, like the rival. This is supposed to be, I don't know, Lamborghini, and who's Lamborghini's rival? I didn't watch that movie.
No, it's Ferrari.
Ferrari. There we go.
Do you know the story about that?
There's a movie I believe I could watch to educate myself called Ford versus Ferrari.
That is correct. So, but Lamborghini is an interesting story where apparently the guy who started Lamborghini, I think his name is Lamborghini,
Mr. Lamborghini.
He had ideas for the car, and he went to Enzo Ferrari. This is the legend, and gave him his ideas. And Enzo Ferrari basically said, who was like, I mean, Lord of all creation at that point for cars. Really, he was. That if you watch Ford versus Ferrari, it talks about that. Apparently told this Lamborghini guy, he said, you make tractors, fuck off. And so Lamborghini was like, I'm going to start my own goddamn car company and beat you. And that's how Lamborghini started as a car company.
Would that we were all so petty.
Would that we were all so petty.
But yeah, this this is an article from the New York Post, so it is a bit tabloidy, but they said they spoke under condition of anonymity with an employee of Boeing who said, we've had so many embarrassments lately, we're under a microscope. This made it like 100 times worse. We hate SpaceX. We talk shit about them all the time, and now they're bailing us out.
Well, that's an honest quote.
Yeah, right. So I'm like, I see why you went anonymous for that one. But they're saying I'm shameful, I'm embarrassed, I'm horrified. They said morale's in the toilet.
Yeah.
And just a lot of things. I guess what they're saying is they kind of blame NASA a little bit, like that NASA is being too timid. With the decision to, how they're going to get Starliner back.
It's just 2 astronauts.
Right. It would just be,
There's like 50.
It's only two. What's the worst that could happen? And NASA's like, we've been there.
Yeah.
We ran Challenger, and we don't want that to happen again.
Also, I mean, you think about all the other scenarios that could possibly happen. The most obvious one is they try to come back into Earth orbit. They try to come back to the atmosphere, The Starliner crashes and they lose both astronauts. That's also a really horrible thing for Boeing. But even the situation when they went up, this is one of the cool things about this podcast, Ash, is that because we cover things every day, I can go back and look at us like first starting to talk about this in May, before they launched this thing.
When they were scrubbing the missions, and we were like, well, that seems like it's a concern.
Yeah, and we were looking at this, and when I was doing a calculation with how many times would they have to scrub the launch in order to have the record for the most scrubbed launches? And they weren't close to it. There was a space shuttle mission that had been done 7 times, I think, was the record. And so we were talking about it then. And then when they started to get delayed, we were talking about it. And it's so interesting because we were at dinner with people last night, And we mentioned the astronauts that are stuck in space, and they were like,
They're
I
like,
don't
what,
know.
what astronauts stuck
have
in space?
no idea.
They hadn't heard about any of this thing. And we'd been following it like a freaking sports team.
Yeah.
We're like, they got delayed, and we're like, I'll bet it was the helium that was the problem, wasn't it? It was the helium. Of course it was the helium.
Well, they lost some of the engines, like going up to the ISS, and they lost some of the engines. But if you think about the engine failure when they're trying to dock with the ISS, I mean, first of all, they could hit the ISS. That would be horrible. Or they could just miss the ISS, which is also completely horrible.
With engines misfiring. And then what do
Yeah.
you do? It makes me wonder, right? Like, do shuttles go up with, I don't know, like some suicide tools? Like, what happens if you just winged off into space and there is no getting you back, right? You want to have a measure for that.
I just looked up while you were saying that. I looked up NASA suicide mechanism. That's what I typed for my search. And now Google's like, do you need help? So thanks, Ashley. You just put me on a list.
Butch,
Thank
Sonny,
you.
is that you?
But the ISS does have to have, and obviously they wouldn't use it for this, but they have to have some kind of escape pod, right?
I don't
Emergency
know.
escape pod, I would think. Right? I would think so.
I mean,
My
I
point, though, is
assumed
too
there would-
about, like, if they miss the ISS and then they're stranded in orbit, that's a totally different situation than being stranded on the ISS. NASA's doing them a favor by, like, telling them, you can't do this. Like, don't take this risk. Because if any of those risks go really, really wrong, Boeing would be in much worse shape. You know,
I
at least
agree.
they have big bad NASA to point at and go, well, they didn't let us even try, you know?
It is weird. This this anonymous employee said later in the interview, they said they have their own PR issues and don't need 2 dead astronauts, but we didn't think that there would be dead astronauts. We'd never recommended they use us if they thought that it was going to be unsafe for them.
Really?
Come on, man.
God, not everything is an economic decision. You know what I mean? I even read a headline this weekend, because I was looking for stories to talk about in that 48-hour news cycle. And one of them was like, the economy in Israel is starting to tank. There are people who say if they end the war, it could improve the economy. It's like, that's where we're at. If you end the war, you're going to improve the economy. It's like, how about you just end the war because it's a goddamn war, you know?
Right.
Now we're going to go to the economic impact of peace. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
But did you know, you're talking about like preventative measures, like drastic measures out in space. Did you know that Russian cosmonauts have a pistol? Or they used to at least have a pistol?
Well, I mean, that's sufficient, I guess.
But it's not, you know what it's for? It's not for suicide.
well, what
I
do
mean,
they
I guess
have
it could be.
aliens?
This is the most Russian thing ever. They had a pistol in order to fight bears.
On the moon?
Hold on one second. Let me look this up. Okay, so this
The
is
moon bears.
This is not on the moon. So when they would land back on Earth, they would land in the wilderness. And so just in case there were bears, they could fight off the bears with this pistol. This is the TP-82.
Can you imagine? You go up into space, right? You see this whole planet from a distance. Let's say you had a vacation on the moon, whatever. You come back, you land in the Siberian wilderness, and then you have to fight a bear until someone comes and picks you up.
Well, that's like, too, every time I see like a space thing and they land back on Earth after all this horrible space travel, they almost always drown in all those movies. And it's like, really? You came all the way back to Earth, now you're going to drown trying to get out of your little capsule? God, how incredibly annoying that would be. It would be so weird after
You'd
all
be-
that.
As,
Your last
as you're
thought
dying,
is you're
you're
annoyed.
like, man, this is so annoying.
Fucking kidding me? Fucking kidding me? Can't believe this. So this is from Wikipedia. The TP-82 is an out of service, I guess they don't use it anymore, triple-barreled Soviet combination gun carried by cosmonauts on space missions. It was intended as a survival aid to be used after landings and before recovery in the Siberian wilderness. Hold on a second here. History, the TP-82. Okay, so this is actually the second pistol that they had in their survival kit. They had another one that was an 18-millimeter pistol, but one of the cosmonauts complained about it, saying it wasn't strong enough to fight off to fight off Russian brown bears and wolves. So they upgraded them to the TP-82, which looks like kind of like a pistol shotgun, a triple-barreled shotgun.
I'm reading this as well. So these were
Don't fuck with the Russian cosmonauts.
These were carried until 2006, at which time, of course, they wouldn't have needed to carry pistols anymore, right? Wrong. No, they just said that the remaining ammunition for this specific TP-82 was now unusable. So now they're just setting them up with semi-automatics.
So they just They go up with like an AK-47? What do they have?
Now they just take a semi-automatic pistol.
So Russians
Good
all
enough for the Bears.
Russians have pistols. I wonder if the Russians on the ISS have pistols.
Or
they go
if
up.
it's like, like in some kit in the capsule. I mean, do you have to do a background check?
when the Soyuz capsule like docks with the ISS, there's like a no gun symbol that they put.
like, please, no guns inside.
Yeah, please don't take your guns inside. That's funny. So Russians still have guns when they go up. That's
I guess
interesting.
so. I mean, look, you don't underestimate the Bears.
Can you imagine going all the way to space? All the way to space. What if like Sonny and Butch, they come back and they land and they get attacked by a goddamn bear? How would that affect these astronauts have to be so mentally resilient. Can you imagine you think you're going up for what, 8 days it was? And now you're going to be there almost a year. Like just short of a year, 3 months short of a year. It's insane.
Well, if it's any consolation, they're most likely going to be landing in the water, Bernie. So they're not really going to have to contend with wolves. It's the orcas.
They'll see them. The class warfare orcas will show up.
Wait, that looks like a yacht to me. Does that look like a yacht to you, bro?
It'll be the most 2025 article of all time. Like the Dragon capsule will land at a Taylor Swift concert. Like they'll time it perfectly.
And
where it'll
everyone
come
gets
down.
a free taco.
And the dude who tracks the jets will be tracking Elon Musk's capsule as it comes down through orbit, and we'll calculate the carbon footprint of it. It'll land on a kid playing hooky.
All right, well, on that note, I would like to thank today's sponsors for Worldwide Tacos, Austin and Trot 488. Thank you both for sponsoring this episode of our show at patreon.com/morning somewhere.
Say their names again. I was laughing over the taco.
It's Austin and Trot 488. They are our sponsors today.
Oh, thank you, Austin and Trot. We appreciate you both very much. All right, well, that does it for us today. You know what? It seems like Monday would be a great day to play hooky, but watch out for helicopters if you decide
They're
to
gonna tattle
engage
on you.
in that incredibly dangerous behavior. Give me a prediction, Ashley, really quickly. 175 on Boeing today. What's going to happen?
Look, I'm going to take a strong stance, and I'm going to call it down to 125.
Whoa!
I don't know. I don't know.
Someone's 401k just got turned upside down, man.
They've already had so much trouble this year. I should actually look and see what the number has looked like sort of over the course of the year.
Year to date, I'm looking that up for you right now. This is according to Yahoo Finance. Year to date, they started at about 250, and now they're down to 175 over the course of this wonderful year that Boeing has had.
So dropping another 50 off, I mean, that would be extreme, but it would not unheard of.
At some point, though, people do realize it can't go anywhere but up. Like, this could be the bottom. Like, this is the turnaround point. So this could be the point at which it goes up. You don't know. This is the interesting thing about the stock market.
Buy the dip.
Yeah, exactly. Buy the non-dip of the astronauts.
Who are not stuck.
They are not dipping back to Earth. I'm gonna say 168. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna predict it'll still go down.
Conservative. All right.
We'll see. Is it conservative? 7-point drop. All right. Well, that does it for us today. August 26, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.